Good morning. It's really good to be back with you and happy 2018, everybody. I'm going to have to admit to you that I'm not feeling 100% today, but that's not your fault. And I promised you a show, and as they say, the show must go on. 2018 didn't start out exactly the way I expected it to, but that's life. And we will get through it, and it's all good. I first want to start by apologizing to all of you for the fact that somehow a hacker got onto my shows. I thought my cousin had friended me and was communicating with me, and it turns out that her page was hacked through no fault of her own, by the way. But unfortunately, somebody was posting under her name, Georgia Price. And again, this is not Georgia's fault. She's a lovely woman. But again, these hackers, they get in and unfortunately, there were some comments made in some of my shows, especially the ones about President Trump, that were not Georgia talking. And some of you responded to those comments, and I'm very sorry. And I want you to know that I am on top of this. I immediately deleted the comments. I unfriended Georgia, unfortunately, because if her page was hacked, I couldn't have that, and blocked any future comments from her. So if you see any comments that sound a little weird, I mean, this is a woman who does not use the words POTUS or, cranky comments. She's not a rude person. So if you see any comments, please let me know, and I will make sure that I take care of it. We will not allow hackers to take over this show. So let's start the new year by talking taxes because, everybody celebrates the holidays, right? And we have so much fun, and some of us spend too much money on Christmas gifts for other people. And then it's January, and it's time to think about taxes. Now, Congress just passed this new tax reform bill, and a lot of people are upset about it. And it might be okay to be upset about it, except people are upset about it for the wrong reasons. And I'm going to go over some of those reasons. Look, I pay an accountant. I took accounting. I have an accounting certificate from Franklin and Marshall College, but I'm not an accountant. And therefore, I can't pretend to you that I understand all these new tax laws. That's what I pay my accountant for. But there are a few things I wanted to discuss that are driving some of you all crazy. And the first one is important because I'm confused as to why you're upset about it. And it's the health insurance mandate that Obamacare put out. Because I remember back when Obama signed Obamacare into law and everybody lost their freaking minds because they were being forced to buy health insurance they didn't want, or they would be financially penalized for it when they did their taxes. And the one thing, again, I'm no fan of Donald Trump, but the one thing he made sure of was that that mandate is over. It's gone, which means people like me who are uninsured are no longer going to be penalized for choosing to not pay for something we're never going to use, to pay for something that is designed so that we can't use it. And I've posted some comments over the holiday on other people's pages where I said the mandate didn't work. And people said to me, well, what do you mean it didn't work? It didn't work. And here's why it didn't work. It's the same thing as Social Security. If not enough people pay in, the whole system falls apart. This is why our elderly people are living on food stamps right now, because Social Security is going bankrupt, because too many people aren't paying into Social Security because they're not working. They're sitting home birthing babies on the government's dime, on our dimes. Able-bodied people aren't working. So Social Security is not getting the money it needs to support the elderly. That's why the retirement age is rising. It's the same thing with the health insurance mandate, if you truly understood it, which most people did not. Most people said the health insurance mandate was forcing people to buy something they didn't want. Now, you guys know how I roll. You know how I roll. You know that I lose my freaking mind when my computer shuts down for 2 hours because it's forcing me to do a free update that I don't want and I'm not going to use, like this creator bullshit that Windows did last week. I lost my mind because I'm not going to use it. I don't want it, but it kicked me off my own computer for 3.5 hours. I was pissed. This is how people felt about the health insurance mandate. Only in this situation, the government was saying you have to purchase health insurance even if you don't want it and you're never going to use it. But the only way the mandate was going to work, and this is why I approved of it when it first came out, was because if everybody pays in, everybody can benefit. If a healthy, single, child-free, 25-year-old pays a little bit for health insurance, then the rest of us, the people who can't afford health insurance that have 4 or 5 kids, will be able to afford it. Because what's going to happen is the healthy person's money will help to pay for the unhealthy person's medical bills. And then when the healthy person gets sick, the insurance will be there for them. It didn't work that way. It should have worked that way. But see, what happened was the healthy 25-year-old single dude said, you know what? I'm not even going to pay $200 a month for health insurance because I don't need health insurance. I don't go to the doctor. I'm not sick. I don't need it. I'm not going to buy it. And I will pay the penalty because the penalty is cheaper than what some insurance companies charge for 1 month of premiums. And employers did the same thing. Remember how Obamacare was supposed to say that every employer must provide health insurance for their employees? They didn't do it. They said, fuck you, Obama. We'll pay the penalty. It's cheaper than paying for health insurance for 500 employees. We'll pay the penalty. It's cheaper. I said the same thing last year when the health insurance company was trying to jack me for $750 a month with a $7,500 a year deductible because I smoke cigarettes and I'm over 50 years old. I said, oh, fuck that. I'm not paying that. I'll pay the $600 penalty in January or April, whenever. Because it's cheaper. And I'm not going to use the health insurance anyway. And you saw my research on that. I told you. If I self-pay for a mammogram, it's not even the cost of 1 month of what the health insurance was going to charge me. Healthcare providers, medical providers, they love people who pay cash when they come in for a service. They hate dealing with the insurance companies. So when I go to a health provider, anyone I choose, by the way, because I don't have any healthcare company telling me who to go to, and I say I'm paying cash, I automatically get like a 40 to 50% discount on any procedure or exam I want. This is why the mandate didn't work, and that's why this tax bill that repeals the mandate, that's a good thing. It's a good thing for all of us, even though you don't know it. And I am so shocked that those of you who were screaming at me when I approved of Obamacare are now fighting to keep it. Oh my God, what's going to happen? Yeah. Now here's the other thing about this tax bill. And I want to ask a question of all of you. And I don't know how you feel about rich people or wealthy people or the 1%. I want to know when being not wealthy, but being successful became a bad word. when somehow, if you have a good job and you've worked hard to make a success of your life, somehow you become someone to be hated and evil. I want to know when that happened, because I don't know many little kids who grew up saying, ooh, someday I want to work at McDonald's and make $9 an hour and live in my mommy and daddy's basement for the rest of my life, even though I'm 40 years old, and live on welfare and food stamps. I don't know a lot of kids that dream about that. I know what I saw as a child and what I dreamed of. Anybody remember Dynasty? That show? The Carrington Mansion? The little secretary who married the rich dude, and whew, man, that was cool. That's what I dreamed of as a child. I certainly didn't dream of having to work 2 jobs as I did when I was single, just to try to afford an apartment. That's not what I dreamed of. I don't think that's what most people dream of. They don't dream of growing up and being poor. And yet, for some reason, those who grow up, work hard, get educated, put in the hours, put in the time, and become successful are now every day on the news being touted as somehow evil. Oh, this tax bill helps the wealthy. Well, no, actually, it hurts the wealthy. I have a little note here. Real estate taxes. Now, look, I've never in my life, by the way, paid $10,000 for real estate taxes, property taxes. Because, again, I'm not wealthy. The government thinks I am, but I'm not. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But people who have big-ass houses, big houses with big property tax bills, guess what? They just got screwed by the federal government. They can no longer write off all of their property taxes. They have a limit of $10,000. Now, to me, again, never paid $10,000 for property taxes in my life. And I have a summer house. No. See, I don't live like that. I don't live larger than, because I just don't go that way. I'm happy with what I have. I don't want to keep up with the Joneses or the Trumps or the Clintons. So people, believe me, rich people who have a lot of properties, real estate developers who buy up properties to flip them, they are going to be screwed by this tax bill. So you can all rest easy. Rich people are going to be fucked from this bill because of their property taxes. They live in high tax districts. I saw the houses where the property taxes are more than $10,000 a year, and trust me, I wouldn't touch those houses with a 10-foot pole. Not to mention the fact that I can't afford a house like that. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. I'm very proud of my house. I'm proud that it's paid for. I love my small little home, and I love my dust bunnies. I wouldn't know what to do with some of these mansions these people live in. Wouldn't know what to do, and I certainly wouldn't be down there cleaning it. But again, not all rich people are going to get a break from this tax bill. Property owners especially. So let's talk about this magic number. 75 is a magic number. According to the United States government, if you make $75,000 or more, you're rich. Congratulations, you have arrived. Really? Really? Well, I don't agree with that, by the way. And I also don't agree with the fact that someone who makes $69,900 a year is poor and deserves to have their insurance subsidized by me and my husband or by our fellow Americans just because of that magic number, 75,000. I'm going to tell you why. Because I know a family who raised 3 children on much less than $69,900 a year. Now, they didn't live in one of those big mansions with $10,000 a year property taxes that they could write off. This is the beautiful family that raised 3 children. Actually, they raised 2 of their children in a row home that was so small that my 5'2" body, if I laid down in their house, my feet would touch one wall, my hands would touch the other wall. That's how small this house was. They were not unhappy. And their children were not unhappy. Their children had food on the table, clothes on their back, and a roof over their head. And that's all they had. This is the same family I talk about that used to go to Kmart when they had dollar hot dogs because they could feed their family for $6. And that was that. The children didn't get thousands of dollars in Christmas gifts every year, but they were loved and they were happy. And they didn't try to live like the rich people in the world. They worked hard. They raised their children humbly. They didn't consider themselves poor. They were poor, and they knew it, but that's the way it was. And it was nothing to be ashamed of because every day they went to work and earned a living, and they paid taxes. They didn't take welfare. They didn't take food stamps. And as the husband got more successful, the wife got some promotions at work, they bought a bigger house, and then they built a nice house. But they did that in baby steps. Today, we have 25-year-old kids living in the basement of their parents' $350,000 4-bedroom, 4.5 bathroom, 2-car garage. They're never leaving because they don't want to do the baby steps. They don't want to start small. They don't want to start in that little row home that was 6 feet or 5'2" across. They refuse to do that. They expect to go from the mansion they grew up in to the same kind of house. This is why we have people going bankrupt. This is why we have young people who live in $350,000 homes on food stamps. Because they run before they can walk. They don't want to work the decades that their parents worked to get to the house they were raised in. They just want to go from the house they were raised in to a similar house. I have people in my life that I know that would not dream of living in my neighborhood. In fact, I am the only person in my family who lives in Lancaster City. They all live in the suburbs. They all have their nice houses. No problem. Good for you. But I do feel that somehow my living situation is shameful to them in some way. Maybe I'm wrong. I do know that I've had people tell me, I'm not coming to the city to visit you. The city's dangerous. No, it's not. This is my neighborhood. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it. I love my neighbors. My diverse neighbors. Yeah, I have black neighbors. I have Hispanic neighbors. And they're all awesome, diverse, wonderful people. And I'm not afraid to walk down the street when some of my neighbors are sitting out on their porches. I just say, hello, how are you? They're like, hey, Paula, how's it going? It's not dangerous. And believe me, it is a comfort to know that this house is mine. All ours, me and my husband's. It cannot be taken away from us. At least I hope not. And I don't care that it doesn't have a 2-car garage and that I only have 1 bathroom and that my kitchen is the size of some people's walk-in closets. I don't care. And I'm glad that my property taxes aren't $10,000 a year, because that would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? I am tired of every time we talk about taxes, we talk about poor people and their kids and tax credits for children. The government's bribe, paying people to have children they can't afford. I say this, if you're living in your parents' basement and you're 35 years old and you make minimum wage, you should be spending that minimum wage on birth control. Not going out on dates with your girlfriend and getting her pregnant. Not a good idea. You know, bad things happen to good people. People lose their jobs. People become poor through no fault of their own. But when you start out making minimum wage and you decide to have 2, 3, 4 kids just because you can, because all the parts work, and then you go to your neighbors and your fellow Americans and the government to pay you for that with a child tax credit, I'm sorry. That's rude. It's selfish. You know, there are many people in this country who can't depend on Social Security to support them when they retire. Some of them will not be able to ever retire, actually. They'll die before they retire. And that's because too many of our young people, these millennials, these young spoiled brats, who won't take a job if it doesn't pay lots of money and give them lots of vacation time so they can go do what they want to do. They'd rather live in their parents' basement, sponge off the government, sponge off their neighbors, sponge off their parents, than go out and get a job, any job. There are jobs out there. I know there are. I may be looking for one this year. But you can't be picky, especially when you have children to support. If you have children to support, you go out, you get jobs, and you support them. You don't go running to the nanny government and say, oh, look, I had another baby. Another tax credit. I'm going to leave you with this, because I have said this on this show and on my blogs for decades. Nobody in the United States of America should ever be considered too poor to pay taxes. Nobody in the United States of America, especially those who bitch about illegal immigrants coming here and not paying taxes, and yet they can't wait to get their income tax refund back in April. They file their taxes early because they can't wait to get all of their taxes back because they have a lot of kids. And that's what the government does. If you have kids, you get most of your taxes back. While people who don't have children are going out and working 5, 6, 7 days a week, sometimes 2 jobs, and our money is being taken. We don't get the child tax credits. We don't get the dependent deductions. No, instead, they take our money and give it to you. We buy health insurance so you don't have to. Really? Is that the way we want America to work? If you are a blessed American citizen, after loyalty to your country, which, by the way, includes standing up for the national anthem, you don't have to sing it, but you at least should stand to honor those who have fought for your country, died for your country, died so that you can go out on a football field and make millions of bucks. That's one of the duties you have as an American. And the other one is to pay taxes to help support the country you were lucky enough to be born in. A country where you have the right to kneel during the national anthem, where you do have the right to stand on a street corner and give the middle finger to the president. You have the right to the freedom to criticize your elected officials, your government, without being stoned or thrown in jail or murdered like what they do in Russia. Anybody who opposes Putin has accidents or gets food poisoning. They don't do well. We're blessed to live in this country, and taxes are a part of it. But I don't believe that anybody should be exempt from paying taxes. And I don't believe that because my husband and people like us, some of our friends who worked hard to support their families, that family I told you about, who started so small and worked their way up, who used to feed their kids dollar hot dogs and now can make roast beef. I mean, this is a woman who knew how to make hamburger 7 different ways because that's all they could afford to eat. My husband and I lived on Hamburger Helper, Tuna Helper, and dollar mac and cheeses when we were poor. We didn't run to the welfare office to get food stamps. We always paid our taxes. And we didn't bring children into that environment so that we could raise our children poor or raise our children on other people's money. Something to think about. All in all, I think this tax bill is probably going to end up biting us in the ass because most of the bills passed by the United States government do end up biting us in the ass, like Obamacare did. But I'm hopeful that at least the fact that the corporate taxes are dropping, which, by the way, not only helps the big corporations, it helps corporations like ours. My husband, in his business, pays far too much in corporate taxes when he shouldn't be paying, really, in my opinion, anything. So that could help us. The mandate, insurance mandate, is definitely going to help us. And these real estate things, well, I don't know about that. Like I said, I've never paid 10 grand for property taxes in my life. So this show is going long. I apologize. But like I said, I'm not at my best, but this show is not supposed to be about what I look like or how I'm feeling. It's for you. And I wanted to make sure you got a show to begin the new year. So look, give the new tax bill a chance, see what happens. I mean, taxes suck. None of us like paying them. But if none of us paid taxes, then we wouldn't have roads to drive on or bridges to cross to get where we're going. And of course, how would all those poor people keep birthing babies? Sorry, again, I'm not in the best mood today. Hey, let me end with our mantra, love shows and grows. I feel all of your love all the time, and I can't wait to see your response to this show. Pick me up a little bit today, make me feel better. I love you all very much, and I will see you back here tomorrow where our topic will be weight loss surgery disappointments. Political Paula out.